All right, tech enthusiasts, we're here for part two of my 2024 planning and thoughts video. In part one, I talked about ideas, 6 things I had in mind for the home theater. Check that video out. This time, though, I'm talking about 6 things I have in mind for the living room setup. Yeah, in many ways, I think going into 2024, I'm maybe a little more excited or perhaps a little more drawn to a couple of the upgrades and ideas to kind of rejigger and improve my living room AV setup. It's the room that we use the most, pretty much almost every single night versus maybe once a week or so. And I think there's a good road ahead in that space to just continue to evolve it and take it up to another level, to the next level. So let's get into the list. And similar to the home theater video, I'll kind of put this list either in an order of expectation or perhaps as well in an order of some things are actually in the living room as well, a little more sequential. So we'll start with the simple stuff and we'll ramp up into the bigger, bolder ideas. So number one, actually just like the home theater, it was my number one on that list as well. I will absolutely instantly buy whatever new Apple TV comes out in 2024. I think we will be due for a new revision in 2024. I think Apple can do some interesting stuff with it. Could be just a processor bump, a spec bump, and that sort of thing. Or it could hearken a new evolution of Apple TV. They could push harder on the gaming front. I think there's still a lot of things that could be done with the device, form factor, price points, capabilities, and all of those types of things. In the living room in particular, the Apple TV is the absolute center point of all of my entertainment there. It is the absolute primary video device that I use and enjoy the most, taking advantage of Apple services, watching YouTube TV subscription stuff, Netflix, Disney Plus, Max type of TV shows and things, Apple TV Plus TV shows as well, and watching movies and things usually from iTunes movies and iTunes TV shows. That's where I predominantly buy a lot of content. We game on it. Sneaky Sasquatch remains a really, really awesome game, in addition to other kind of simple pick up and play, have a laugh, have some fun type of gaming fare. Peacock for the WWE premium live events, and if there's some other type of video that I want to serve locally in the household, I use the Apple TV as well, either through Infuse or through the Apple computer home sharing. If I have like some type of video or whatever that I have on my Mac, the computer, the home sharing stuff still works excellent for using that. We use it for Apple Music when I want to listen to high-end, lossless quality, high quality 2-channel music. It's the living room, it's the Apple TV with Apple Music. So many things that device does for us. And again, I don't even care what it is. As soon as a new revision comes out, I'm a day one buyer, instant buy. And pop the camera up a little bit here for number 2, because number 2 actually has to do with that computer sitting up on top of the rack right there. Right now I've got an 11900K Intel CPU in there. I've got an MSI NVIDIA 4090 GPU, super power gaming PC. We predominantly do our gaming in the living room, and that thing is just the place to game. It is so powerful, native 4K resolutions, maximum settings in so many games, super high frame rates with VRR. I've reaffirmed in 2023 my kind of commitment and desire to stick with PC gaming, and I feel very good about that decision, and I feel very bullish about the prospects of PC gaming in the new year. And so what my plan would be is I really do expect to see 5000 series GPUs come from NVIDIA. We'll have what should be the 15th generation Intel CPUs coming out probably in the fall, since they tend to do that stuff yearly. And so 2024, probably at the end of 2024, but I look forward to a gaming PC rebuild. And I will essentially look to just sell that computer off in its entirety as a built system, just one sale, one simple, complete, ready to go gaming PC to a new home, and rebuild everything from scratch and jump up all of the levels of technology in the gaming PC. I want to build in one of those like horizontal motherboard style cases where all of the I/O faces upward with the fishbowl kind of style. I think it'll look fantastic up on the rack here. And we'll be rebuilding everything from scratch. So new motherboard, because of course we have to have the new chipsets, to support newer processors. I'll be 4 generations newer then, from an 11th gen to a 15th gen Intel CPU. New generation of memory, that's got DDR4. We're up to DDR5. I'll be jumping right on the NVIDIA 5090 GPU train immediately. Maybe take the SSD storage from 2 terabytes up to 4 terabytes and make sure we're also on any like latest PCIe generations for maximum speed. Up the power supply, 800 watt or 850 watt power supply running in that right now. Easily go to 1,000 or more than 1,000 to have headroom and power delivery for also future generations. That PC, when it comes, even if a PS5 Pro comes or whatever in the fall of 2024, would just absolutely smack the consoles and give me, hopefully then, real, all the way up, 120 FPS, maxed out settings, 4K resolution. It'll just be absolutely fantastic. And so I'm very, very excited about the prospect of that, building it with my son, and actually getting through some games in 2024. I did beat a few games in 2023, but I think I would like to do some more gaming, work through some really, really high interest games that are in my backlog. That'll predominantly be a living room focus. That's where we do our gaming, and so I'm putting this one in the living room video. All right, number 3 is where we start getting into like the bigger endeavors for the year. And I talked about this at the beginning of 2023. We never quite got there. The money that I did spend around audio, video, channel revenue, and entertainment and all that focused on other things for the home theater. But I still have in my desire a want to tear down the bump out of the living room setup there, fix some of the original designs that are kind of defunct now. I don't need the upper section angling forward because there's no speakers angling down up there, and essentially make it a little more uniform, clean up some of the drywall work and stuff that's around on the face of that, but also give me the opportunity to prepare for other things and other things that are on this list coming up. Case in point, being able to accommodate a slightly larger television. When I originally spec'd out the inset where our TV is right now, the 83-inch TV, I fell short of actually designing that inset spacing properly for up to something like a 100-inch 16:9 flat panel with some bezels and some borders. So it's too tight to be able to put a TV like that in there. Some of the stud work needs to move and expand a little bit to kind of do a more proper 16:9 aspect ratio with a little bit of a border, some space for heat dissipation and airflow around it, and be able to get up to these 98-inch, 100-inch televisions in there. The overall width of the bump out can stay the same, but we can shift some of the studs in and around that section to provide that, or relieve that tension to be able to get a larger screen like that in there. And then being able to do taller and other different models of in-wall speakers, maybe more modularly as well, if I can get different models kind of through here to be able to test and demo and review for the channel. There's a beam inside that bump out that runs essentially right across the top of where the TV cubby is. So if I wanted to put a taller speaker in right now, so say for example a Focal Utopia instead of the IW LCR6s, I couldn't do it because if I had to go higher I would hit that beam. So part and parcel with moving the stud work around to get a larger television footprint, I can also relieve some of the vertical tension and be able to get my spacing a little bit better, a little more future-proofed for taller speakers. A Perlison in-wall is taller than the Focal IW LCR6, and the Utopia is a lot taller as well. And even some other in-wall subwoofer models are bigger. The SVS in-walls I think are a little bigger of a cutout footprint than the Triad Bronze are. So if we tear this thing down, get the right handyman in here, do some cutting, do some trimming, do some reframing, and put it all back together, I don't think that will be too terribly expensive, but it will set us up for years, decades ahead of more types of equipment and other things to come. So I think that's a really important project, kind of for the future of my just general use of home audio video entertainment in the living room. But I think it's also a really vital project for the future of being able to do stuff for the channel as well. So number 4 builds on that. Ultimately, once I have the space for it, I very much want to go even larger on the television. 98 inch is the new 83, and I want to be in the super heavyweight class of televisions. We sit about 14 feet back in the living room right now. Plenty of opportunity to continue to go larger, and as long as the TV is nicely set into the inset, it's not like falling out or protruding out in an ugly way, even a very, very large panel like that will look very nice in that space, controlled and contained and integrated. So I think it would pass the wife acceptance factor, and still the room itself would continue to look very nice despite this this large panel. So 14 feet back, 98 inches would really power up watching content, particularly if the content we're watching is scope content on an 83 from 14 feet back starts to really feel somewhat constrained. The larger format display would help quite a bit with that. And then of course for gaming, just absolutely immersive, awesome gaming opportunity there. What will I go with? Ultimately, I don't know. I'm very, very eager to see what comes out at CES, what ultra large format displays, where they go into 2024 and beyond, where the price points go, where the picture quality and the capabilities of those sets go. But TCL is rocking there, Sony's rocking there, Hisense is there, awesome on the price, and then we've still got even up to like the 97-inch OLEDs with LG and whatnot. Some of those televisions do get crazy expensive, but those televisions are about the price of what will be a JVC NZ9 model or successor model in 2024. And it's going to be an interesting trade-off, because if I am able to get some of this other stuff done, I may in fact be looking at like one decision. I don't think I can afford a super expensive large format OLED for the living room and buy an NZ9 successor. Over multiple years, I would be hopeful to be able to complete both of those types of upgrades, but there may be a really big crux point, a really big choice to be had for TV for the living room, projector for the theater, or maybe when the time comes, you don't spend all of that money just to get a large format OLED, just go with LED. But even if I change things around in order to make space to fit the larger television, one of the challenges that I do have is the depth. And having the LG G2 television at 1-inch thickness really makes that whole wall and the integration of the television look so much nicer than a thicker TV. And like the TCL QM8, even the Sony, are multiple inches thick compared to what the gallery type OLEDs are. So that's going to be a factor as well, because if the more the TV protrudes, the worse that whole setup actually ends up looking. It looks really clean with the thinner television. So lots of things to consider here. We'll see where we go, but getting that large format TV in there is definitely number 4 here on the list. Number 5 is kind of part and parcel with that as well. By virtue of doing that bump out, rebuild, rejiggering, adjustment type of project, I open up the opportunity to be able to put other types of speakers in the larger speakers that I was talking about in there. As it is, I don't have the space to really change out the speaker configuration. And even if I wanted to change speakers right now, they're in walls. There's one set of drywall that's been completely finished and installed up there. I've made the cutouts for the Focal and the Triad subwoofers that are in there. In order to be able to change anything anyway, particularly to a speaker or an in-wall subwoofer that may have a different type of cutout footprint, I can't do it. It would all need to be refinished anyway. So if we can redo the thing, we can adjust the sizing, we can maybe make things a little more modular for the future. It opens up the opportunity for other brands or / models of speakers. If I'm going to do, I mentioned it in the home theater video about having had like a longer roadmap of plan, potentially through the Focal speaker lineup into the Utopias and all of that. Quite honestly, if I was going to buy some Utopias and put them anywhere in the house first, it would be buying a pair, I think, for the living room first, because again, that's where we use that stuff the most. That's where we listen to music and things like that, and I think that's where they would have the most impact. It would be awesome to have a pair of Focal Utopias, maybe keep the Triad subs, maybe try some SVS in-wall subs, maybe even go with the Utopia subwoofers as well. There's lots of choices there. There's Pearlisten in-walls, the architectural, like big, impactful, high quality premium in-wall speaker offerings just ballooned in 2023. As a market segment, a lot of companies starting to offer models that fit that bill. So curious to see where it goes in 2024, and I think I've got a unique opportunity here on the channel to cover that stuff. But I can't do anything about it, again, until that whole thing is kind of pulled down, rejiggered, and adjusted and architected to be able to accommodate it. And finally, number 6, of all of the equipment that I have right now, I'm pretty much like top model in a lot of it, particularly in my audio. I'm up to date, current models and all of that stuff, but I think the one device that may be due for its biggest refresh opportunity is the Anthem STR. The capabilities and features and technology of the STR lag the features and capabilities of both the MRX receiver line and the AVM preamplifier line from Anthem. There's no web UI. It's a little bit short of certain types of I/O that I would say are standard or to be expected in this category of 2-channel preamplifier device nowadays. Case in point, it doesn't have an HDMI eARC type of input on it. It still has their older style, kind of like bumped out front panel instead of the more kind of svelte flat one. So I think there's a few things that Anthem could do in an STR2 or even an STR like V2 type of evolution of this preamp. So amongst all of Anthem's current product category, aside from introducing new product, I think this one is the most ripe potentially to see an upgrade come in 2024. And if one comes, depending on what the specific logistics of it are and how I might take advantage of it, that could be a desirable, perhaps, upgrade depending on what this may sell for, what the new unit might cost, and the delta in between. So I do have that. I do have that here on the list as number 6. I don't think there'll be any hard forcing function though. It'll be I think that classifies as more of a want than a need, especially if the only major differences are some feature capabilities in the HDMI port. This thing works great, sounds great. I can't even imagine what they would improve actually on the audio performance front, but that's the one category of product I've got my eye on with Anthem. So that's my 6 thoughts, of upgrade, focus, opportunity, and interest around my living room setup for 2024. One thing that's not on the list, it didn't make it as I was kind of authoring the script for this, is Kaleidoscape. I talked about it more in the home theater video, but I do expect to see the Strato line come into a new generation, a new evolution, and who knows what they could do actually for living room type of setups with regards to Kaleidoscapes and the new Stratos. So I'll leave this here as kind of a pseudo number 7. I'm very, very curious to see what ends up happening with this, what a new model could mean perhaps for my living room use. If I didn't have the dedicated home theater, I would probably be putting that higher up actually on the list. But just for me specifically, the way that I use my rooms and my systems, when we want to watch marquee movies and stuff like that, we come down to the dedicated home theater room, we use the Kaleidoscape, and that's it. We don't tend to really engage the Kaleidoscape too much in the living room. Up there, the Apple TV and streaming is awesome. It's plenty, plenty, plenty good. I will be paying attention to what Kaleidoscape does with the new players, what that lineup may look like, their capabilities, and so on, and we'll see. Like all things, we need to be adaptable, and this list is subject to change based on what some of these companies do and what new information becomes available as we go into the year, through CES, through the spring, and beyond. I think 2024 is going to be a really, really interesting tech year. Another thing I didn't even mention here is the Apple Vision Pro. I don't know how that thing might play into potentially how I use my spaces, if I end up even wanting to get one or getting one. I think 2024 is going to be a tech-enthusiastic year for sure. So sound off in the comments and let me know what you think about my list. Am I off basis? Did I miss something? Is there something else I should be considering? If it were your spaces, knowing what I have and how I tend to use things and how I like them, how would you prioritize these items? Give me your feedback. I'll definitely take it all into consideration as we start the new year. Otherwise, please do all the regular YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video, all those things. If you'd like to support the channel and help me get moving on a variety of these agenda items for 2024. You can do that with Super Thanks, Venmo tips, PayPal tips, but most valuably for you and for me, shop with my affiliates. I've got a lot of great affiliates, Audio Advice, Amazon, and others. Easy ways to support the channel in a majorly impactful manner. Thanks so much for watching. Come on back all through 2024 for more home theater discussion and fun.